In this second part of Module 4, Basic Security Procedures, we will begin by looking at the procedure for conducting security checks and searches. Conducting security checks and searches. While the client determines the rules of access at the worksite, a security guard must ensure that these rules are complied with. A security guard should be clear on the rules that he or she will be enforcing on the site. The only way to ensure that the access requirements will be met is by making the security guard familiar with the requirements of that particular site. Security firms, when introducing security guards to a new site, should discuss the rules of access and protocol in detail. People may not only be greatly inconvenienced by a search of their belongings, but insulted as well. It is vital that security guards comply with the wishes of the client in determining when these types of invasive and potentially reputation-damaging actions are necessary. If the instructions of the client are ambiguous, then the security guards should consult with his or her supervisor. In the meantime, the security guard should take note of suspicious behavior, items removed from the site, and so on, in an official report. The guard's notebook should also include a full description of what transpired. The difficulties these and other security policies present should be discussed with the guard's supervisor, who should consult with the client to determine an approach that is appropriate. It is much simpler for a guard to explain why he or she must search the briefcase of an employee if management has made the determination that searches are necessary. Alarm systems. Purpose of alarm systems. Alarm systems serve the crucial purpose of detecting and alerting individuals to potential threats or emergencies. They are designed to provide early warning and prompt response, protecting lives, property, and assets. Alarm systems act as a deterrent to potential intruders or unauthorized access, enhancing security measures and providing peace of mind for individuals and organizations. Types of alarm systems. Alarm systems can be categorized into different types based on their mechanisms and functions. Mechanical alarms utilize physical devices, such as tripwires, pressure mats, or mechanical bells, to detect and sound alarms. Electrical alarms use electrical circuits and sensors, such as motion detectors or door-window contacts, to detect disturbances and trigger alarms. Combination alarms combine mechanical and electrical elements for comprehensive detection. Examples include hybrid systems that incorporate both motion sensors and sound alarms for effective security. Components of alarm equipment. Alarm systems consist of several key components that work together to detect, transmit, and respond to alarm activations. Sensors are devices that detect specific events or conditions, such as motion, heat, smoke, or changes in environmental parameters. Transmitters facilitate the transmission of alarm signals to monitoring stations or designated personnel. The control panel or annunciator receives and processes alarm signals, providing audible or visual indications of alarm activations. General operating procedures and monitoring. Alarm systems operate based on predefined procedures and protocols. When an alarm is activated, it can be due to various causes, including unauthorized access, fire, or environmental hazards. Malfunctions and human errors can also trigger false alarms. Monitoring options for alarm systems include self-monitoring, where individuals are responsible for monitoring and responding to alarms, and central monitoring, where alarm signals are received and managed by a dedicated monitoring station. Central monitoring ensures continuous surveillance and prompt response, reducing the risk of false alarms and enabling timely intervention when necessary. Importance for security guards. Alarm systems play a vital role in supporting the work of security guards. They enhance the effectiveness and efficiency of security operations by providing early detection and notification of potential threats. Security guards rely on alarm systems to monitor large areas or multiple locations simultaneously, ensuring comprehensive coverage. Alarm systems enable guards to respond promptly to alarm activations, assess situations, and initiate appropriate actions, such as contacting emergency services, securing areas, or investigating potential incidents. Security responsibilities during an alarm. Security guards unfamiliar with the type of alarm system in the area they are guarding should consult either their supervisor or the site owner to determine what the system equipment is like, and to ensure that they operate in accordance with the client's instructions. The responsibilities assigned to a security guard during an alarm must be determined in advance by the client and the security firm that has agreed to perform those duties. These responsibilities may range from notifying the client, or the police, fire, or other emergency personnel, to identifying the cause of the alarm and reacting appropriately. Regardless of the level of threat occurring, the primary responsibilities of the security guard remain the same: the protection of people and property. In some cases, the security guard may be instructed by his/her company, or the client, to immediately evacuate the site once an alarm has been activated. In other cases, the security guard may be instructed to completely seal the building. For example, after a bank hold-up, security guards are often instructed to secure the crime scene pending the arrival of the police. In securing the crime scene, the security guard often has to encourage bank customers to remain at the premises until the police have had an opportunity to interview them. In this next section, we'll take a look at crowd control. Definitions. Crowd. A concentration of people whose presence or anticipated behavior is such that it requires preventative measures for the maintenance of order. Demonstration. A crowd that is exhibiting sympathy for authority, or vocalizing or gathering against some political, economic, or social condition. Riot. A breach of the peace occurs when a group of people commit acts of violence together to achieve a common goal, targeting anyone who opposes them. They work together to carry out a specific plan of action. Disaster. A disaster means any extreme or catastrophic condition which imperils or results in loss of life and/or property. Thinking that you may become involved in a crowd control situation is an unpleasant thought, but one for which a security guard must prepare. Normally, a person may find it hard to believe that they might become directly involved in the control of rioting. Yet if such rioting, vandalism, or looting were to spill into an area or onto property for which a guard was responsible, then they most certainly would become involved. Or take another example: if the plant or building to which a guard was assigned became the subject of a strike or demonstration, the violence and unruly crowds, which so often mark these events, could become a menacing reality. It should be understood that a single security guard or even a small group cannot significantly alter the course of a large-scale riot. However, before a riot erupts and when activities are still non-violent, it is possible to effectively handle such situations in a fair and non-lethal manner. With proper training, security personnel can confront a pre-riot scenario with considerable effectiveness and disperse an unruly crowd. It is easy to say, stay calm and remain neutral, but much harder to actually do so, especially when faced with the intense stress of a mob situation. Nevertheless, it is crucial to accomplish this. It is the responsibility of security to protect property, equipment, and information, and every action taken by security personnel must be strictly legal, regardless of the circumstances. Security guards may not be able to do more than identify leaders or gather information to testify against offenders in court. If they can successfully perform these tasks, they have fulfilled their duties admirably. Besides the reasons that lead to the formation of crowds and the transformation of peaceful gatherings into chaotic mobs, it is crucial for individuals handling crowds to recognize that a small crowd has the tendency to draw the attention of many initially uninterested people, resulting in a rapid increase in its size. This phenomenon, known as the snowballing effect, is influenced by specific psychological factors. Security. Some individuals are drawn to crowds because they perceive a sense of security and safety in being part of a large group. This is particularly evident in times of civil unrest, when gangs roam the streets, engaging in looting and posing a threat to the safety and peace of citizens. In such situations, people may feel fearful for their well-being and may join these gangs as a means of seeking protection and security. Suggestion. When individuals join a crowd, they often have a tendency to adopt the ideas of a dominant member without being aware of it or raising any conscious objections. If the dominant member presents their words and ideas forcefully enough, they can influence and manipulate the rational thinking and common sense of those in the crowd. This inclination to accept even the most extreme ideas can result in susceptible individuals becoming unquestioning followers, lacking critical thinking and independent reasoning. Novelty. An individual might choose to join a crowd as a welcome deviation from their usual routine. In this new setting, they can be easily influenced by persuasion and suggestion, leading them to enthusiastically conform to what they perceive as the appropriate behavior within this different context. Loss of identity. Similar to the security factor, the individual tends to lose self-consciousness and identity in a crowd. Consequently, they may feel safe and feel they will be neither detected nor punished for any wrongdoing they may take part in. Release of emotions. When individuals find themselves in an emotional crowd, their suppressed prejudices and unfulfilled desires are often unleashed. This temporary release of emotion serves as a powerful incentive for individuals to engage in crowd activities. It provides them with an opportunity to act on desires they have secretly held but were too afraid to pursue. Types of crowds. The behavior of crowds varies widely depending on its motivating interest. Crowds are classified in accordance with their behavior patterns, and it is essential that any security measures are based on recognition and understanding of the type of crowd that must be dealt with. The following outline is representative of most of the crowd types that might be encountered in this country. 1. Acquisitive. The members of an acquisitive crowd are motivated by the desire to get or acquire something. It is best illustrated by a crowd of shoppers seeking items in short supply or at an auction sale. They have no leaders, little in common, and each member is concerned with his or her own interest. 2. Expressive. In this type of crowd, the members gather to express their feelings, such as at a convention or political rally. The expressive crowd is usually well behaved. However, officials may condone demonstrations, because when they are thwarted or restrained, resentment occurs, and their otherwise cheerful enthusiasm may be replaced by hostility. 3. Spectator. This crowd gathers to watch out of interest, curiosity, instruction, or entertainment. It is invariably well behaved and good-natured initially, but since spectator sporting events, parades, etc., tend to stir emotions rapidly, this type of crowd can quickly become unruly and violent. 4. Sightseer. This type of crowd gathers almost spontaneously at the scene of a fire, accident, or disaster. The members are all curious. Most will be cooperative and willing to assist. In most instances, when they try to help, they are inclined to be overzealous and interfere with professional operations. 5. Hostile. Hostile crowds fueled by hate and fear, such as strikers, political demonstrators, and rival mobs, may be driven to fight for their cause. Leaders can amplify hostility, but all participants may equally share inflamed emotions. Crowds can serve as breeding grounds for mob behavior, especially when forceful individuals assume leadership roles. They may also turn violent due to the undesirable actions of individual security personnel. In such situations, crowds often direct their resentment and hostility towards those tasked with maintaining order. Some individuals within the crowd may purposely provoke security guards to make errors or use excessive force in order to discredit authorities or incite further unlawful acts. These crowd actions typically involve taunting, cursing, and minor annoyances, which should be ignored. However, immediate action must be taken to address individuals who physically assault, throw rocks, or attempt to interfere with security units. In controlling a hostile crowd, sufficient manpower is basic to your success. If it appears that a peaceful demonstration or other large crowd gathering is showing hostile tendencies, do not hesitate to report and call for immediate assistance. This does not, however, mean you may or should resort to the use of unnecessary force. Such action is never justified. Potentially dangerous crowds can usually be controlled by the following methods. 1. To prevent a crowd from uniting and escalating an incident, it is crucial to remove or isolate individuals involved in instigating it before they can gain support from others. This action might result in temporary resentment from a small portion of the crowd. It is important to swiftly remove the individuals from the area to eliminate the source of irritation and prevent a potentially ugly incident. Keep in mind that the inappropriate use of force can backfire and turn the entire crowd against you, undermining your intended purpose. 2. Fragment the crowd into small isolated groups. The police often arrive at the scene of an accident or hastily conceived demonstration after a crowd has assembled and achieved a degree of unity. The close contact of the crowd members and the emotion of the situation causes the individuals in the crowd to become group-influenced and directed. Individual controls disappear and each person is swayed by the mood and feelings of the crowd. This collective excitement is communicated to each member of the group in what is known as the milling process. Effective crowd management strategies. Presence of adequate force. Disperse the crowd and break it into small isolated groups before it becomes aggressive. Coping with the milling process effectively. Prevents the crowd from becoming hysterical. Show of force. Demonstrate a strong presence without necessarily using force. Adequate number of well-disciplined and well-trained individuals. Creates an impression of preparedness to handle the situation. Remove crowd leaders. Excited and vocal members establish themselves as informal leaders. Removing or isolating agitators contributes to crowd dispersal. Requires sufficient manpower to be successful. Techniques to control and disperse crowds. 1. Divert attention. Use public address system on fringes of crowd urging people to disperse. Amplify authoritative tone to attract attention and break influence of excited members. 2. Induce individual focus. Force individuals to focus on themselves rather than group objectives. Random arrests of individuals on crowd's edge to instill fear and promote dispersal. 3. Use of recognized leader. Counteract developing leadership in crowd. Trusted figures like labor leader, clergy member, sports figure, or civil rights leader. Plead for order and reason. 4. Prevent panic. Blockage of escape routes leads to panic in escape crowds. Display helpful, calm, and confident attitude. Use rational crowd members to calm or isolate hysterical individuals. Provide first aid and medical attention, particularly to vulnerable individuals. Block off routes to channel movement in desired direction without panicking the crowd. 5. Handling escape crowds. Fleeing from fear, leaderless, and disorganized. Focus on providing escape routes and ensuring safety. Transition to handling individuals once in safety. Security and demonstrations. Security organizations assigned to supervise demonstrations have a twofold responsibility. Regardless of individual convictions, they must protect the peaceful demonstrators who are exercising their right to protest. Spectators not in sympathy with the demonstration constitute a potential threat of violence. This is often aggravated by counter-demonstration, whether they are organized or spontaneous. Control forces must also protect the general public from demonstrators who infringe upon the rights of others. The more common problems occur when demonstrators engage in sit-ins, etc., and violate property rights of others. Formation of a mob. A crowd or demonstration can transform into a mob when certain conditions are present. These include being exposed to irritating events, fueled by rumors, and influenced by professional agitators who manipulate emotions rather than reason. As these factors take hold, hostility intensifies, and unity replaces confusion and disorganization. The initial frustrations, caused by agitation and rumors, create a buildup of tension that requires a triggering incident to unleash the mob. Various factors can contribute to this, including a perceived weakening of security groups responsible for maintaining peace, which can sway the crowd towards aggression. Responsibility and behavior of protective groups. Protection must extend to all people. This means fair and equal treatment to all. Observe a position of neutrality and grant no special privileges. Act with firmness but not belligerence or unreasonable force. After an order is given, it must be enforced for the preservation of the public peace and for carrying out the traditional mission of protecting life and property of citizens and to assure the basic rights of all people. If you observe a hostile crowd gathering, never hesitate to request assistance. In these instances, it is definitely safer to overstate the number needed to restore order than to attempt to act alone or underestimate your requirements. A show of strength not only has a restraining effect on the crowd, but it will also provide the necessary manpower. Order must be established. Approaching the more vocal individuals in a crowd is an effective method of dealing with a group. When addressing these persons, be firm and carefully phrase your commands. Do not become involved in an argument. Use simple language and inform the people of the violations they are or may be committing. Request that the violations stop and that the group disperse. Allow the crowd the opportunity to withdraw peacefully without interference. If the throng defies authority and the apparent leaders make no efforts to disperse the crowd, arrests should be made, or police assistance sought. Whenever you are dealing with an excited or hostile crowd, remember that it is potentially dangerous and may require only a slight incident to turn it into a mob. Your example and your ability to maintain order are the best deterrents to mob action. How do I deal with the media? The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms says that everyone in Canada is guaranteed freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, including freedom of the press and other media of communication. This is often referred to as freedom of the press, and it means the media, who are part of a democratic society, are allowed to say what they think without being punished. The media may be very interested in talking to you if you are guarding a site where something interesting has taken place, like an accident, a crime, a visiting celebrity, a labor strike, etc. It is your job to protect the people and information at your site. It is not part of your job to speak for the company. Check your post orders to see if they name a public relations person as a contact. This is the person who is authorized to give interviews or press releases to the media. If a public relations person is not named, refer the media to a site manager or your employer. Do not make any statements or give your personal views, even if they tell you it is off the record. Do not fall back on the no comment answer, as that can be used against you. This lesson will cover the correct manner by which to direct vehicular and pedestrian traffic and the proper use of hand signals. In this section we will begin with an introduction, followed by types of traffic control, objectives of traffic control and key principles and hand signals. Does a security guard have legal authority to control traffic? Yes and no. Security guards protecting private property have the same authority as the owner of the property. It is your responsibility to see that traffic moves safely on your site. You do not have the authority to direct traffic in public areas, including roadways. However, when asked, if you must help the police, call your supervisor so that they are aware that you have left your post. There are maintaining professional deportment. Maintaining the safety of those persons subject to traffic control, and above all, maintaining personal safety. These issues will not only impact the personal safety of the guard, but also affect the safety of the general public and their property. Importance of risks. For maximum traffic control safety, you must have use of devices such as whistles, illuminated batons and flashlights, including the wands or glow cones that you may see attached to a police officer's flashlight when he or she performs this type of function, large reflective signs, barricades, reflective clothing, such as vests, luminous cuffs on jackets, reversible clothing that allows for both daily wear and, when turned inside out, is covered in reflective panels, and traffic flares help both in the job function and to protect the individual from the dangers of directing traffic. Although some of these devices are oriented towards dusk or nighttime traffic control, it does no harm to use this equipment in the daylight. Never assume that an approaching driver has spotted you. Remember that the operator of a motor vehicle may not always be taking the care that he or she should in driving the vehicle. If there are flares lit, flashing emergency lights, a roaring fire, pedestrians wandering around the scene, or some other distracting event going on, the operator of a motor vehicle may be more interested in observing what is going on than in where he or she is driving. Remember that roadside flares are meant to be used in advance of the accident or other development that will impact upon traffic. Place them in advance of the scene if you use them. Pick up any debris left by the flares as well. You should think carefully about using a flare where, if left untended, may start a fire. Weather conditions may make it very difficult to see a security guard standing in the middle of the road trying to direct traffic. Position in intersection important. Must be visible to traffic at all times. Let people know you're in command. Most dangerous way, stand in center of intersection.